Hello, hello, hello. And here we are again on Triumphant Thursday. I think it's my husband outside. Let me close it up. We are on time today. We are on time today. We have printed what we need to print. I bet the printer won't make it. The printer won't make me late. How about that? We're going to let some people come on in here. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. See, when I get in here, I can, when I get in here on time, I can actually tag some people. And then I want to turn my phone off so we won't have the big delay. All right, here we go. Here we go. Turn that off. And give the people a few moments to get on in here. Hey, hey, looks like we have somebody. Went to work at the boutique today. We got some new stuff in. Just tagging things and just had a good old day today. How's y'all's day? For those of you who are in here, say hey and what's in your cup? What's going on? I need for y'all to start bringing your tea so we can have tea time together. Here we are. Got about another minute before I get started. When I get started, I'll tell y'all what's in my cup. But tell me where you are. Mighty Replay crew, y'all do the same thing. When y'all come in on the replay, tell me where you are. Tell me what's in your cup while you are watching. Because it's tea time. You know, I like to see where the people are watching me from. And if you would please, when you come in, tag somebody. Tag somebody and share the video. Tag somebody and share the video. I'd appreciate that. Helps me with outreach, helps people get the information that they need. Hey, yeah, I know where you need to be. How about that? So here we are today, Michelle. Don't forget classes tonight. Last one for this cycle. Last one for this cycle. So, well, I'd like to welcome you to Tea and Truth with Karen Booth. I am the baggage handler, and I am live from Little Rock, Arkansas. And I present information to help you clear all that extra baggage out your soul. Right now, the bag we're dealing with is forgiveness. And this week, we are talking about how the soul plays a role in effectuating forgiveness, how it holds it, and how it can release it, right? So Monday, I told you what the soul was: mind, will, emotions, intellect, and imagination. Now the emotions are already gone. You're angry, you're sad, you're something. So your emotions, your feelings, those are things that are impacted when something happens and causes the need for forgiveness to take place, right? So Monday, that was Monday. So then Tuesday, we talked about the mind, which is not the brain. It is the mind. It's the thing that seeks closure. It's the thing that keeps replaying. It keeps replaying the incident. It keeps it open because it wants to. It's running around here trying to find an answer. It's running around here trying to find an answer. So it replays in your mind, because I know sometimes you have stuff that happens and you have these emotions, and you can be sitting there minding your own self business, and boop, it'll pop up, and you'll have all the emotions because there's been no resolution. Then we talked about the will. The will tries to protect, right? The will tries to put you in a place of being safe, of not being vulnerable. That's where you get the I ain't gonna never. I ain't gonna never. And so we learn how I ain't gonna never is not the right answer for when something happens, because that keeps us in unforgiveness. It keeps us in fight or flight. It keeps us in a state of heightened anxiety. Not good. So today we are talking about the intellect. The intellect is where meaning is assigned and conclusions are formed. Now, when we talk about intellect, of course, the root word is intelligence. I think the root word is intelligence. It comes from intelligence, the ability to learn or understand. Intelligence, the ability to learn and understand. The next part of that definition, or the ability to deal with new or difficult situations. Right? So this is where we're going to assign meaning to something that has happened. This is where we're going to draw conclusions. Intellect is the power of knowing. Intellect versus intelligence. Intelligence says you can learn. Intelligence shows you how to figure out a situation. Intellect is the actual power of knowing, as distinguished from the power to feel and the power to will. So intellect is where you say, oh, okay, this is why this happened. This is what's going on. Okay, I got you, right? So the intellect is the meaning-making center of your soul. It interprets experiences. It answers questions such as what this meant, what it says about me, what it says about others, and what it means going forward with your smart self. Now, if you filter those questions, what does this mean? What does it say about me? What does it say about others? If you filter those questions just raw without using, without including forgiveness, without including Holy Spirit, without saying, hey God, what does this mean? Then you might come up with, she crazy. You might come up with all sorts of wrong conclusions, right? So when you come up with this, bam, snap judgment, this snap assessment, this assigning of this meaning to this person, to this thing, to myself. Because if you say, oh, well, geez, why did this happen? I must be, and you fill in the blank with whatever your intellect has determined that you must be. Unforgiveness in the intellect sounds like people cannot be trusted. I should have known better. This is just how life works. This is how I am. It's me against the world. I'm out here on my own. These are conclusions. These are conclusions. And when you are walking in a state of unforgiveness, when you're walking in the emotional state because you have not taken the time to say, hey, I'm not going to, you have not taken the time to do what forgiveness says. I'm not going to allow my feelings to run amok because I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm bitter about what something did. So when you're walking around without having made that choice, then you draw these conclusions. And when you come into agreement with something in your soul, in your mind, in your heart, in your, when you come into agreement with that, then okay, that's the end of it, that's the answer. And your mind is just not going to look for any other explanation. So now you're hard, you're rigid, you're you're right here. There are conclusions that your whole soul has accepted. Intellect prefers coherence and stability. It's not going to re-examine. Why? Because it feels like, ooh, I'm unstable. Ooh, I'm shook. Ooh, I'm. And this is the thing that you might fear about forgiveness, because if someone has hurt you and you say I ain't gonna never, and you stop fooling with them and you stop saying, doing, I'm not gonna call them, I'm not gonna talk to them. They come in the door, you go the other way. That feels safe to you. That feels safe to you. And if it is if it's a person who it's not safe for you to be around, then that's partially useful, right? Because you don't want to put yourself in physical or emotional harm's way. However, forgiveness also says, I'm going to release those feelings and I'm going to check with Holy Spirit to see if this is a person that I should involve myself with. Now, I'm not advocating for you to put yourself in an unsafe position. That's not what I'm advocating. What I am advocating is that you tend to your soul and you ask God to help you forgive the person who has done whatever it is that has happened. Now, sometimes, depending on what it was, depending on what was going on, it's gonna be very difficult. It wasn't easy for me to forgive the person who caused the trauma in my early childhood. It wasn't easy by a long shot. Hey, Kristen, what's in your cup, girl? I have elderberry tea and what I have? Elderberry tea and peach tea. It wasn't. It was nowhere close to easy for me to forgive him. Not when I was in therapy. Not when I was in my own coaching. When I was being coached in forgiveness, it wasn't easy at all. And I'm not minimizing any harm that somebody that you have experienced. I am not saying, oh, forgiveness happened and everything is everything and all is well and I am great and the world is beautiful and fine. I'm not saying anything of the sort. Hey, Celeste, y'all got a cup of something? What I am explaining, and Happy New Year to you too. What I'm explaining is how the intellect will draw a conclusion. Ah, yes, and then get you some good sleep tonight. What I am explaining is that the intellect draws a conclusion because it needs stability. It needs coherence. It needs stability. It needs to be right here. And because forgiveness puts you in a place of uh, you you're turning control over to God so that God can heal what has been broken. And because we're just little old humans over here, we like to think that we can control some things. And so your intellect comes to these conclusions, and we're like, yeah, we hope this the answer, and this is where I'm stopping, right? And in that space, the intellect becomes self-authoritative. So it becomes a place where pride can grow. It doesn't start out that way. Kind of like when the wheel decides it's going to protect you, it becomes a place where pride can start growing. And if unchecked, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more in control of what's happening in your life and impacting your decisions and your behaviors and the results of your the results that happen in your life. It can cause you to self-sabotage and procrastinate and think all these things like um if you have two or three relationships that don't work out, be they romantic or platonic friendships, things like that, that don't work out. And your brain comes to the conclusion, I mean, not your brain, your intellect comes to the conclusion that, it must be something wrong with either me or them. Mm-hmm. Might not nothing be wrong with you. Maybe you should just wait and ask God who should be in your life. But because you didn't you didn't take your intellect and go say, hey God, what is the issue? Then you come to the conclusion that, oh, it must be something wrong with me. And that's not that you don't have issues that you can work on, but it's just something wrong with me is not the answer. Just not the answer. That is the answer that I came up with. You remember me telling you yesterday about how I had all these issues with the person before I dated my husband, and I had come to these conclusions. One of these conclusions was that I clearly don't pick well. And so I was done picking. And because I was done picking, I was also done participating. And because I was done picking and participating, and I had not forgiven the person that I dated before him, I was not the best girlfriend for a long time. So you see how that works, right? So the the intellect again, my intellect became self-authoritative. I was the author and the authority and the one. I was the one decision maker in my life. It didn't sound boastful. I had just settled into that space and I was okay because I had figured it out. I didn't need to talk about it no more, and that is where I was. And then here comes Stephen. I ain't even made this statement that whoever, if somebody want to date me, they just gonna have to come up to my doorstep. Don't y'all challenge God. If you're a believer, don't you challenge God. Because I was like, this joker needs to come to me. And when I say to me, I mean to my door, to my house. Hmm. And he did. Left a Valentine's Day card in my mailbox and left me his phone number. You have what you say. So, um, when you choose to forgive, it invites the meaning that you have assessed, that you have attached to whatever it is, to be re-examined. It really opens the door for God to do a whole lot of stuff. And if you let him, because all of this is about your choice. If you let him, all these decisions that you have made, you oh yes, yes, Michelle. All these decisions that you have made can be re-evaluated. I give you another example. I have gone through the certification process at my job with the government. I went through this instructor certification process. And so I thought I am going to get a job at the regional training center to be an instructor, teach people how to do the job that I was doing. And I never got that job. Applied, never got mad, feelings got hurt. Did not find a space to forgive the decision makers because I'm good enough to train all over the state. I'm good enough to be on the district wide training cadre. I'm not good enough for you to choose me to go teach in Dallas. That was one thing. And I put in for a promotion to a higher um, GS level and didn't get it. And so I was mad at management and mad at whoever the decision maker was. I just carried that mad on my shoulders. And that's probably why they got a whole lot of these kind of faces from me. Right? So they didn't have my calls. And so I had come to the conclusion that I just wasn't gonna never be an instructor. And now now I'm on TV. Now I'm on Facebook Live every day teaching. I did work through forgiveness for the non-selection. I worked through my pain of the non-selection because I also had some rejection issues and all that. However, he took me through that certification process so that I could be prepared to do this. Because now it's not an issue for me to put a lesson on something together. It's not an issue at all. And so that is an explanation that I accepted when I was hurt and walking in unforgiveness. And then when I walked through forgiveness, I looked back at it and it opened a part of my skill set that I thought was gone. So, what I want y'all to do, those of you who are watching now, and hey, y'all, this is my daughter, Skylar Simone. Is my baby. Hey, well, she's not, she's my big girl, and she's the oldest. Hey, Sky. And so I want y'all to in your quiet time, ask Holy Spirit, what explanation did I accept when I was hurt? And I'm willing. What are you willing to look at it again now and apply some forgiveness to the situation to open it back up? Because what else will that open for you, right? Just remember, your mind wants order, your will wants protection, your intellect wants explanation. Forgiveness is going to loosen all three. It doesn't take away your intellect, it doesn't take away your will, it doesn't take away the order, but it puts it in a place where you can still be in order, still be protected, still come to explanations, but instead they're wrapped in forgiveness and you can be at peace. How about that? How about that? All right. So, y'all, this is Tea and Truth. I'm going to finish my tea. Skylar, since you asked, you have to understand that forgiveness is a choice and it is for you. It is the choice to say, I am not going to let my feelings get all wrapped up and riled up because I'm angry about what they did. And it is also a release of the need to receive an apology, for them to pay you back emotionally or whatever. It's releasing. You don't just, I mean, when you say let it go, most people when they say let it go, they mean just like, forget it. And that is not how forgiveness works. Forgiveness is a choice that, because if you say, I'm gonna let it go, forget it, but then they walk in the room and you want to bust them in the face, then you haven't opened the door for healing to happen. When they walk in the room and you just feel some kind of way on the inside. So you can pray about it and you can say, God, help me to properly forgive them. But most people don't know that the definition of forgiveness really says to choose to stop allowing your feelings to be noticeably changed because you feel hostility or ill will, like constant ill will towards someone or something that has done something to you. That is literally what the definition says. The biblical explanation, because it's not defined word for word like that in the Bible, is to release them from the obligation. So you release them from the obligation. They got to talk to me before I forgive them. They got to apologize. I need to have some last word. Them last words not going to work out like you want them to, typically. But even at that, you don't want to hinge your peace. Okay. You don't want to hinge your peace on waiting for them to do something. So, baby, if you need to call and talk to me about it, you got my number. All right. Are there any other questions out there? I didn't ask if there were any other questions. If you have some questions, write them down because I'm actually about to go. Write them down, and we can have a Q&A on tomorrow doing my broadcast on tomorrow at 4:30 on Freedom Friday, because it's all about getting free so that you can do all the things and use all the gifts and skills that God has given you. I'm gonna wait about like 10 more seconds to see if something pops up. And if not, thank you for tuning in, y'all. Y'all like the broadcast, share the broadcast, and tag some people that you know so they can come back and watch. Yes. So you can come back and watch this broadcast and then tune in tomorrow at 4:30. Okay, y'all? Okay, Kim. You gotta come to class tonight at 6, 7 your time, 6 Central Time. All right. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.